Live from Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM, this is Script to Screen with host Alan Mehanna.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Script to Screen here on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. We are on our third episode this season. This is season 2 of Script to Screen, and it's been going really well. Like I said before the show, this season is filled with so many cool guests, so many great guests. The conversations are more edgier. They're more challenging, and this is something that I really wanted for the show. I want to thank each and every one of you that, out there that is listening, that is watching us on YouTube, that is listening to the rerun episodes on Anghami and Apple Podcasts. This means so much to us here at Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. It means the world to us that you are enjoying our content and our programs. Today's episode is entitled "Oh Writer, My Writer," and you will know exactly why the episode is titled as such, because with me in the studio is a special guest this week. It's an interesting choice that I made this week. Mr. Mohammad Mardini used to be one of my students at the American University of Science and Technology. Used to be one of my students, and now I consider him more of a colleague than a student, more of a friend than a student, because let's face it, he's graduated, you're all done. But I won't tell your story, I'll let you tell your story. So, first of all, Mr. Mardini, welcome to Script to Screen.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Bring the mic a little closer to yourself there, my friend, so that we can all hear you. Mr. Mardini, I can't resist not calling you Mr. Mardini. That's what I've always called you in my classes. It's weird. I can't call you Muhammad. I don't know you as Muhammad. I know you as Mr. Mardini. The first segment of the show is normally a segment where my guest gets to give a brief about who they are, how they got into cinema, what was that moment that brought them into this cursed industry that we love and hate at the same time. I think that's a fact for everybody who's in the industry. We love and hate it at the same time. It's a very love-hate relationship. It's very masochistic. So the first segment of the show is an introduction about you. Give us a brief. Tell us how you got into this industry. What was that journey like for you before we move on and start talking about more important topics. So the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, used to be a student, always going to be a student for you. I'm a Lebanese-Syrian screenwriter. I always loved writing, everything about it. Why I entered this business is because of the magic in film. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can write a novel, I can write a book, but there's something magical about films. That's what, I have passion for it. Mm-hmm. One of the first films I watched is Legends of the Fall for Brad Pitt, and there's the moment.
Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, brilliant film. It's a fabulous film.
Legends.
Yeah, it is quite legendary.
There's a moment in it that you fall in love with it, you cry in it, you laugh in it, and that's the movie industry. That's every single emotion you live through them.
It is kind of a. You said something that it proves how much of a writer you are, because literally that is what a writer is supposed to do in cinema. We're supposed to take the audience on a journey of emotions and an emotional roller coaster of a journey to express things that you may not express outside of a movie theater room or outside of your room, depending on how you're witnessing the content that you're witnessing.
Exactly.
To allow you this, it's a very therapeutic process. You said you watched Legends of the Fall. How old were you when you watched I
was
film?
11 years old. I was with my uncle. He told me, I'm going to take you on a journey.
Okay.
And it was Legend of the Fall.
Is your uncle a movie buff, movie fiend?
Yeah, he's Syrian. He wanted to be an actor, but now he's a lawyer.
That's an interesting shift in career choices. So he wanted to be an actor. So he's a big movie buff, movie fiend.
Yes, he acted in theater and plays, but he didn't break through. Okay. He continued his studying to be a lawyer.
So was it really him that kind of introduced you into the world of cinema?
He introduced me to it. He put me on the path, and I continued that path.
Okay. And then after that point, because you were 11, so it's a big jump from 11 to where you are now. At what point did you decide that this is kind of what I want to study at a university level? Because in school, you don't really venture towards the field much.
So when I was 15, there I had an English teacher who always, instead of giving us books to read, he gave us films to read, to watch, and write a review about them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that increased my passion to film. He always shows like films with meanings. That's what he said. Like he chose Titanic.
Okay.
One of the first films he gave us. He gave us Charlie Chaplin, the Great Dictator, and he gave us Star Wars, the first film.
A New Hope.
Yes.
Episode 4.
I didn't like it.
Well, yeah. Okay. We'll have that discussion outside of that show.
Okay.
Outside of the show. Okay. So he gave you films instead of books to read.
Exactly.
An English teacher.
An English teacher.
Okay. Well, I guess it's not a literature class, so that's acceptable.
No, it was a writing class. Like he watch how they write, and try to write a review, and then write a story somehow similar to it, a narrative, not necessary for a script.
That is very innovative. That is very, very innovative for a teacher to do this at a high school level or high school level. Yeah, high school level. It's very interesting. Okay, so post your high school academic journey, when was that decision taken that, okay, this is what I'm studying, come hell or high water, that's what I'm going to do? How did that come to pass? And then, as always, I ask, especially people who were students not so long ago, I very much ask this question of, what was your parents' reaction like?
Okay.
When you told them that this is kind of what you wanted to major in and study.
Okay. The decision I made when I watched V for Vendetta, and he said one sentence: ideas are bulletproof. And I saw the reaction for the people when they were watching it and how they cried when he died and his story. And I said, that's what I really want. I want to spread ideas. And the only way I know how to spread ideas is the movies.
Through Inception.
Or through Inception. We're going to Christopher Nolan.
We'll get to Nolan a little later. Yeah, we'll get to Nolan a little later.
So I finished back two, and I made a decision. I want to study film. And I went to my mother and I told her I want to study film. She said, well, okay, you're going to have a really hard discussion with your dad. So I went to my dad. Dad, I chose my major. Amazing. Of course, it's going to be business. No, I'm going to study cinema. And he was like, okay, so unemployed. I was like, no, I want to study cinema. It's amazing. It's nice. You sit Saturday nights and watch movies to feel entertained. And he kept on saying unemployed. But anyways, it's your decision. It's your path. Go ahead.
And that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
And you started studying at the American University of Science and Technology.
Before I was in Lebanese-American University and then
LAU?
LAU.
Oh, okay. Why the shift? That's weird. You were in my class, and I should have known this little piece of trivia, and I had no idea that you were an LAU student before AUSD.
I only stayed there for 1 month, didn't last, and because I didn't like the atmosphere.
Okay.
Like you really have to feel calm when you're studying. You're gonna have to feel friendly people around you. I didn't feel that in LAU, so I switched to AUSD.
All right. And thus you entered into my classroom.
Yes.
What was it was art of film. That was
art of film in some.
Yeah, and then you disappeared for a while, and then you got back into it. Yeah, I remember you in art of film. That was the first semester I gave that class. It was it was an interesting. It's so much different than what it used to be now.
I know.
So many changes.
It was this class made me stay in this major. I was going to leave and change major.
What brought you towards the screenwriting role or position in the industry? Because I mean, the film industry has loads of different positions that you can be a part of. But even when you were still in my classroom, I knew you and I had this discussion of this is kind of what I wanted to do. You knew before you even graduated that writing was something that you really wanted to pursue. Yes. What was it that took you down that path?
What took me down that path is I've always loved writing. I really loved the way putting words next to each other to bring out a magnificent sentence that keeps in, okay, they're in film, like there's a good scene that can be stuck in your brain. Mm-hmm. But there's always sentences that you can never forget, like remember. Right. V for Vendetta.
Right, a piece of dialogue.
That's what I really wanted.
Yeah.
And that's my legacy, my words.
True. you talk about your legacy and you're still in your early 20s. This is a very, very scary thing. Like, do you plan on exiting anytime soon, exiting stage right? I hope not. You have a long way to go to build your legacy, Mr. Mardini. But you're right. This is kind of the beginning of this, the beginning of you building towards leaving something behind. And this is how I feel as a writer as well. The crafting of a sentence, the crafting of a piece of dialogue, but not just this, but taking a character on a journey, exactly. And then delivering some sort of ideology because of this journey, or whatever. What do you find is the hardest thing as a writer? What is still something that you still find difficulty or find opposition with?
What I really hate is, where is my character going? Like, every character is a piece of me. Like, I've been through this journey, but I never finished it.
Hashtag write what you know. So it's normally, is it that trajectory where the character is going,
exactly,
that you still kind of find struggles with, even if you have the idea, even if you have the premise?
Other than I already have the idea, I really want to shift everything at the end.
Okay,
he finished his journey, but there's a twist.
Yep. This is the Nolan influence on you.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of Nolan, let's start the homage to Nolan, the ode to Nolan, Christopher Nolan. If any of my listeners or viewers haven't, if you haven't seen a Christopher Nolan film, which I highly doubt that you haven't, you probably just don't know that it's a Christopher Nolan film. Last year, Christopher, I forgot his name for like a second. My brain completely blanked. Christopher Nolan directed a film called Dunkirk. Wrote and directed.
Yes,
he wrote and directed Dunkirk last year, the World War II film regarding Dunkirk, the events of Dunkirk. And then prior to that, he had Interstellar, Inception. He directed the Dark Knight trilogy, which is by far, I think, the best superhero films to ever exist, period. The Prestige, Memento. Am I missing one? I think I'm missing one.
The Al Pacino film.
Why do I feel like I'm missing one? I have no idea. The Al Pacino film.
Yes.
Insomnia.
He
directed that?
Yes.
I didn't even know he directed that. Oh, well, okay. And I think he writes the majority of his stuff, doesn't he?
Film.
Yeah. So this love of Nolan, as a writer, what is it about Nolan that attracts you to his work? Because I almost feel like every writer has a mentor, somebody in the industry that is already established that you regard as a mentor. I have one. Aaron Sorkin is my mentor in a lot of ways. I love the majority of his films because I'm a very dialogue-driven person. But you are very influenced by Nolan. I see it in some of your work. I see it, you tend to gravitate towards whatever Nolan is doing. And I will not accept an answer from you of Nolan is the master. I won't accept that. I want some explanation, some validation as to what is it about his work that you as a writer gravitate to. Forget you being a filmmaker, but you as a writer, what is it about his work that makes you gravitate towards using or paying homage to his techniques?
Okay, first of all, every writer has his own topic that he really likes to talk about. Like for Christopher Nolan, it's always time.
Mm-hmm.
For
Very
me,
true.
I really have like 3 points that every screenplay, every film always levitates about these 3 topics: love, death, and love.
Love, death, and love?
And time.
And time, okay. Love, death, and time.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Every film speaks about those 3 topics.
Now that you've said it, it's just everything has clicked all of a sudden. Everything is just, it makes, I feel like I know you so much more now. That you're right. In a lot of the works that I have read that you have written, those 3 issues are, they're there. Sometimes more subtly than others, but they still have a presence. They're still there. You are very right. So is it the fact that he sticks to this one thing and
his obsession with time and how he drives everything through it is what I really love about it. And how, like, you want to be revolutionary, you don't stick to traditional.
Right.
You make something revolutionary, and that's what Christopher Nolan is doing. In every film you watch, there's something new. There's something different.
Yeah, but does this also not cause risk of repeating yourself in a lot of ways? Like, would it not cause a sense of repetition to some degree?
If you're going to be revolutionary, that's a risk you're gonna have to take.
Okay.
So, like, when you watch Inception, that last moment of the film,
Oh, it's huge. I mean, and it's sparked debates up until this day. Was it all,
50 years later.
was it a dream or not? This is a debate that occurs every time Inception is brought up. Was it all a dream? Is it a dream? And there are theories that state that it was, that you can be seriously convinced by. But then there are also theories that it was not, and this was reality and whatever. And then there's a great video essay on YouTube that makes it, that Inception is really Nolan's commentary on cinema,
yes.
Which is a brilliant video essay on YouTube. If any of my listeners, if you can find that, it's a great video essay to watch. But it does, again, I in a lot of ways, because I see a lot of similarities in how Nolan manipulates time in Dunkirk and Inception, since you've brought up Inception. Yes, Dunkirk has a very similar formula to it. It's just not science fiction. It's a war film, but it is a very similar formula. There are, sections of the film, there are timelines. Let's just say there are timelines in the film that are longer than other timelines, but they all take the same amount of time in the film, if that makes sense.
Okay, here's what's great about Dunkirk. His idea of Inception is a man trying to get back home to his family.
Right. And
it's a narrative. He created everything. He took Dunkirk, a true story,
and then
with
applied
the same
this
idea
to it. Yeah.
Yes, and that's how he's
but
great.
Instead of it being one man, it's 400,000 men who are trying to find their way back home. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of it is a repetition of his formula.
But instead of him going back home came to them in Dunkirk. He found he unlocked it. That's why he's great.
Okay, so checkmate goes to you on this round. All right. Well, at least, I mean, I did grab a copy of Dunkirk, and I did want to watch it again because I do this all the time. Movies that I don't agree with on my initial watch, I sometimes go back and watch them again, in the hopes that maybe a different perspective will come to mind if I'm watching it. So I do plan on watching Dunkirk again because I have heard so many good criticisms of it, that have piqued my curiosity to go back and watch it again, which is something I recommend to everybody, to constantly do this. If you watch a film, the first time you watch it and you hate it, go back and watch it again because 9 times out of 10, you are going to, you're more than likely going to enjoy it on the second round. Sometimes, not all the time, but there are cases where that has happened. So this is it. This is why you like Nolan. It's because there is a certain, you watch something and it's this, it's Nolan. You'll immediately know it. But then you also like the idea of his motif, with the idea of time being a motif. For you, you've used a 3-layered motif, which is death, love, and time. That is your tip of the hat to Nolan with that. And you find yourself applying it in all of your work?
In all of my work, now.
So far,
currently, I'm working for television for a social show, and I'm trying to make even TV stick to those 3 topics.
That is very interesting. And what show are you working on currently?
أحمر بخط العريض with Mr. Malik Maktabi.
On it's LBC, correct? Yes. Okay, and you're working as a script writer for the content that goes on on that show. That's interesting because it's not really fictionalized content.
No, it's true stories. So and as I've said, everything revolves about those 3 topics: love, death, and time.
Right.
So through those true stories, there's always these 3 topics,
and you'll find your way to
manipulate them.
That is something that's very, very interesting. Mr. Mardini.
Yes.
We had started to shift towards what you were doing career-wise, and you had said that you are currently working on the LBC show. But you and I also discussed something a little earlier before the show because there is an interesting venture that you're going into.
Yes.
It's kind of, I feel like it's almost like an untapped venture in Lebanon here, which at first I, as a teacher, had my reservations about the issue. But then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it's not such a bad thing at all. So what is it exactly that you are doing that caused the calm seas of my life to go into a very stormy mood?
Okay, so what I'm doing caused chaos for Mr. Allen.
Yeah,
I'm co-writing with students their senior films.
So you are helping students. You're co-writing with students, senior students. You're co-writing their senior films with them. So for all you listeners out there, so the reason why it drove me crazy was because I had wanted my students to show what they had learned. And it took me some time to understand that what was happening here is actually totally fine and totally okay. The reason being is that not every student wants to be a writer, and not every student, especially, the students that I've taught and whatever, not every student is a great writer, even if that's something that they want to do. So in a lot of ways, what you are doing is you're offering the students a helping hand.
Yes.
But you're also benefiting as well. And we kind of discussed that. So your benefits are essentially the experience.
And credits as a writer.
And credits as a writer because of
helping the students writing their films. Because like what you said, not everybody is a writer. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not me writing my vision. It's them. They're saying what they want. And I'm just like putting them on paper because they can't explain it. So I'm writing it. They're fine with it. It's okay. I'm fine with it. It's my words after all. It's their ideas. And it's going to be a really nice film.
And then part of the experience that I said that it's benefiting you via the experience was due to the fact that you are essentially challenging yourself as a writer, because not every student has the same story that they want to tell.
Yes, exactly.
So this is very interesting as a writer, because you're not only adapting different ideas and different premises, but you're also writing and kind of letting go. Because you don't have to worry about the production aspect.
No, they should worry about the production aspect.
So it's already kind of training you to be a writer. Is essentially what it's doing.
What I really like, for example, this semester I have 4 students. I'm helping them. One wants an action film. One wants a drama film. One wanted a comedy, and the last one wanted something social that speaks about how she wanted to help everybody. So like 4 different genres, 4 different ideas, and I wrote all 4 of them.
I mean, and one of them is isn't one of them kind of like a sci-fi futuristic type thing as well?
Yes, it's in 3018.
Yeah, because I remember reading that and I was like, oof, okay, interesting. So is this, like you said, you're gaining experience, you're gaining credits. And experience, because I ended up insisting that they write your name on the script. Once I found out that this is what was happening, I insisted that you get credit, because I don't believe in ghostwriting. I think it's very unfair. But what it's also doing is it's there isn't a lot of work. Let's face it, there isn't a lot of work for new writers.
They don't trust you.
Right.
You're still new. You have new ideas. They don't want them.
Because you've had close opportunities to where you were very close to working on actual, industry level work.
I've worked in advertising, like in many different ads. One of them was really huge, like for the Dubai Board of Tourism. And I was like, no, they are making me write what they want. That's not what I really want.
That's ads. But weren't you also very close to being a part of a writing, like a writing team at one point as well?
Yeah, exactly. With Nadi Tabbara. But also I didn't want it. Like, I want to put the ideas. I really want to to throw new ideas. Why stick to traditional? And that's one of the biggest mistakes here in Lebanon in this industry. Like, we have those ideas. Like, for example, Caramel. They made it a TV series and they made it a film. Like, come on. Something
you mean
new.
Habbit Caramel?
Habbit Caramel.
Right. Because, the Caramel is also Nadine Lebake's film. So we don't want to mix that up because it very, very different premises and very different topics. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like this recycled story over and over and over. Yeah. And this is it's very funny because this brings us back to this idea of like, is repetition a good thing or a bad thing?
If you can change the repetition, making something new every single time, then no, it's good. Like my experience in TV, what I really love about it, that every day there's a new story.
Right.
Like for a screenwriter, that's amazing. Like the last episode, one of the episodes, there was a female who was speaking like, I live in a building, كلنا عنسين. كلهم مطلقين كلهم ميتين.
Right.
Like,
So everybody's divorced, everybody's single, and everybody is a widower and
so like
whatnot.
a huge building,
Right.
all females.
Oh
Like,
boy,
yeah,
this is insane.
It's a nice series.
Yeah. You're right. So it is kind of fueling your, or not even fueling, but like inspiring a lot of new storylines. You know, as a writer, you're right. And then this is also the same thing with what you're doing with the students.
With the students, yes.
But see, this is the thing. So like with the writing team that you were very close to working on, and even the ad agency, they were giving you the idea, just like the student is kind of giving you the idea. So what's the difference between the two? Is it that the student is like open to flexibility and change versus the others?
For example, a student, I want an action film. That's it. That's all what they wanted. So
yeah, that's very brief. Okay.
So I create everything, and they end up accepting everything I give them. Like for the ad agency, whatever I give them, they don't like it.
Okay.
It won't sell.
So, but are you not receiving students that have at least they give you the premise of what they want, or is it that general of like I want something social?
It's always that general. They always I want to do this, but I don't know how. What's the character? What's the storyline? Like nothing. Like
okay. So you are literally building it from scratch.
Exactly.
So essentially, the credit should not even be split in a lot of ways.
As a writer, no, but as a director, they are going to direct their entire
but as
film.
a writer, essentially, it should be like a screenplay by based on a very vague idea by essentially is what it should be in a lot of ways. Okay, so what is the plan now? You know, knowing what the industry is like currently in Lebanon, what is the plan? What do you want to do? What is something your aspiration as a screenwriter here in Beirut? What is it that you are seeking?
Okay, before I can hit big and enter the film industry, I have to build my name as a screenwriter.
Right.
And that's what I really started doing it with the TV.
Right.
I'm building up my name. I'm building up my...
As well as that, you know what, but you really can't deny the student short films as well, because...
No, of course.
That is credit, that is credit that you can put on your CV.
And they're sending it to film festivals. I'm getting credit everywhere else.
Absolutely.
And I'm building a huge library of ideas. Like whenever they just, I want an idea for this topic, I have an idea. I'm ready for it. That's what I really want to do.
Right.
And that's how I'm going to share my ideas to the entire Lebanese people that they really want.
Right.
Those three main topics: time, death, and love.
Yep. Very much so. You do have something there with the holy trinity of topics here, because yes, we do have a lot of that in Lebanon. This idea, this constant, where is the love story? Like everybody asks every writer. It's like you pitch them an idea and they're like, yeah, I like it, it's great, but where's the love story? It's like that always comes back to that. So maybe you've you've struck gold. Maybe you've reached the other side of the rainbow, hopefully, with a pot of gold. We are going to jump into the rapid fire question segment of the show. It's the same 10 questions I ask every single one of my guests. So this should be fun. Answer as quick as you can.
Okay.
First answer that comes to your head. It's kind of like a gut thing. So here we go. Ready?
Yes.
Alrighty. Number 1. What is the film that you would defend for all time?
Inception.
Christopher Nolan. Okay. Number 2. If your life could be defined as a film, what film would it be?
Cinema Paradiso.
Ooh, that's a good one. It's a very good one. Number 3. I already know the answer to this one. Okay. Number 3. What is a line of dialogue from a film that you will never forget?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Dead Poet Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Number 4. Which Lebanese actor would you most love to work with?
Most Lebanese. Adil Karam.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Number 5. Here, lost myself. Okay, there we go. Number 5. Which global actor would you like to have portray you in your life film?
DiCaprio.
Interesting. I don't know if DiCaprio will be at the right age point eventually, but yeah, that's a good one. Okay, number 6. Which global director would you love to work with?
Of course, Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan.
The greatest.
The greatest Christopher Nolan. What does he have coming up now? Does he have anything coming up?
Not yet.
Nothing in the stratosphere. No whispers, no nothing about what Nolan is planning.
There's rumors about him like an enemy.
Oh yeah. I did hear that. There's also always has been rumors about him tapping into the Bond franchise.
Yes, but the Tarantino also wanted it, so nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, Tarantino's now busy doing the R-rated version of Star Trek, which is the weirdest news I've ever heard. Yeah. Okay. So number 7.
Okay.
If you could have studied anything other than the field you are currently working in, what would it have been?
English literature.
How very shocking. How very, very predictable.
Yes.
Any particular time period of English literature?
Oh, the Shakespearean era.
Ah, okay. The Elizabethan era.
Yes.
Okay. Thou wouldst have
Yes,
been
exactly.
a great student of the Shakespearean Elizabethan era. Do you have a favorite of Shakespeare's plays?
Hamlet.
Okay. Also unshocking. Very unshocking. There's speaking of Hamlet. Is it Hamlet? Hamlet has Ophelia, right?
Yes.
Yes. There's a film coming up this year, I believe, that is about Ophelia.
Nice.
Daisy Ridley is the lead. She is currently the lead in the new Star Wars films. She's taking on the role of Ophelia. Olivia? What? Okay. All right. Number 8. I already know the answer to that question already. If you could meet anyone from the industry for a cup of coffee and a good old conversation, who would it be?
Christopher
Nolan. How very... Oh, man. Okay. All right. Number 9. What would you... Yeah. Number 9. What would you like to have people say about you after you are long gone? May that day be very, very far, far away.
Well, not say about me, but read my words. I prefer that.
Yeah, but what would you like? What would you like? What would you like them to say after they read those words?
He spread love.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Peace and love here at Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. And the final question: what piece of advice would you give to new filmmakers in Lebanon?
Fight, never surrender. This industry will knock you down, but keep standing up.
And this is, in a very, very eventful week. We've had a very eventful week here in Lebanon. Not to get too political, but we did have an issue with a major motion picture this week. And without going into too much details, we did fight. And so far, we've won. So far, because this is Lebanon and nothing is ever predictable.
Yes, it's round 2.
Yeah, if you think Christopher Nolan's films are unpredictable, try living a week in Lebanon and see how unpredictable that can be, especially when it comes to our industry. Mr. Mardini, this has been a huge pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your views, not just on Nolan, but on the writing and the writing aspect of our industry. It's fun to have a writer to talk with on the show. You are, I believe, you are the first writer that I've had on the show, first screenwriter. No, you're the second, because I had one last week. I forgot. Ayman was also a screenwriter, but you're kind of doing a very different thing that he's doing. You are trying to balance both the business and the artistry together, to be able to kind of, get on that train and keep fighting and never surrender, as you said. Keep fighting and never surrender, and spreading your ideas and your ideologies of, love, time, and the inevitable death. Again, Mr. Mardini, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I tell all my guests, if people want to follow you on social media, your Instagram, do you use your Instagram? Do you not use your Instagram?
I don't use Instagram.
You're more of a Facebook user?
Yes.
So how can people find you on Facebook?
Just write for Mohammad Mardini and look for a man who have Muhammad and pen on it.
Oh, right. Yeah, you do have the quill, the feather,
the quill.
as your profile picture, and you spell Mohammad Moha.
MMAD.
MMAD, and then Mardini is easy. You know, it's kind of like martini, but with a D. So that is an easy way to get people to know. And you can always follow me on my Instagram at Mehanna Official. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and Rami and Apple Podcasts. We will soon be broadcasting, streaming from Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. These are plans that are in motion, which are very exciting for our radio station here. This is fantastic news. So make sure you join us and do that. Make sure you join us next week, same time, same place, 4 p.m. for a fantastic guest next week. It's my first recurring guest, which is fun, because I've told this to all my listeners. I want to have, and my guests, that I constantly want to bring back guests that have been on the show before, because I like being able to check in every once in a while. I said this in the season premiere that I want it to be the Ellen of the radio, because Ellen brings back her guests all the time. So I want to do that, and Alan, Ellen, a little bit of similarity there with the names. So next week, my guest is going to be the very cinematic Elias Dummar. He's a film critic. He's also a film festival programmer. He's a great colleague of mine, but we're going to dedicate next week's episode to commenting on the Oscar nominations. It's exciting to see what films are going to get nominated, especially if the fantastic Lebanese film gets the nomination. This will be exciting news for us. So Elias Dummar and I will be commenting on the Oscars, along with a whole bunch of different stuff that we want to talk about next week. The title of the episode is "We Would Like to Thank the Academy." A very suiting title for the episode. So make sure you join us again next week at 4 p.m. here on Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM. If you want to know what else is coming up later this season, you can access my website at alanmehanna.com. There's a whole list of upcoming guests. And then, you can listen to the show on Anghami, Apple Podcasts, or watch it on YouTube next Friday, because it'll be up on all those things next Friday. All of my listeners, have a great cinematic weekend. Check out the films that are in the movie theater. Go watch movies. Go support cinema, because it is a part of culture, and it's a part of our culture, and we need it. We desperately, desperately need to raise our cinematic culture in this country. And as my mentor and teacher and friend and colleague always says, this will be my message every week: be humble and be ready. So for all you filmmakers out there, anybody who is listening, be humble and be ready. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Script to Screen. I'm Mehanna, and you are listening to Radio Lebanon 96.2 FM.